Greetings, salutations, hello gamer guys, girls, and everything in between, fellow gamer dads out there. Posted this little poll. If you didn't see it, feel free to subscribe. You can give yourself a vote. I'll probably try to do these fairly often to kind of see what everyone is thinking. It looks like overall people would like to see Blue Belcher videos. Makes sense. It is a popular, powerful deck, and so this is the strategy, the build we're going to take out today. I'm really only going to comment on changes. I'm not going to talk about the core of the deck. If you want, there are other videos talking about that. And keep in mind that whenever I do changes, even if we perform well, even if we get the 5-0, that doesn't mean that this is, the best version. I'm always going to recommend like a tried and true 75 over experimenting. If you're learning the deck, or if you want to take it out to a competitive environment. But people are always trying to innovate. We're going with a Flare version. I like Flare. I like having the full 8 2-drop creatures. I'm sticking with 3 Tamishi. Basically, I'm playing Commandeer and Unable to Scream in place of, sometimes this is like Pax and a Commandeer. Sometimes it's the 4th Tamishi, a couple Pax, and 1 Commandeer. Sometimes there's Force Negations main. But that's what I'm going with. I really like Commandeer right now, and especially in the mirror, it is very powerful, and I like Unable to Scream right now. I hate this auto zoom feature, but, MTGO will fix bugs when they get around to it. We're also testing the Karn board a little bit here, and I think, again, powerful in the mirror, powerful card overall. I like Harbingers. Into the Flood Maw is the most flexible card, I think, to have in the sideboard. A couple Forces and another Unable, so we bring in the Unable to Scream in matchups we usually don't want. We also don't want Commandeers. We bring in the Forces in some matches where Unable to Screams aren't great. But yeah, this is what we're going to take out. It's been interesting as the deck has gotten more popular. It's done a couple things. One, it's made opponents more have more interaction. Right, decks are more prepared to face Belcher. Two, the results have kind of evened out. Where before we had very high win rates with the deck when only a few experienced pilots were playing it. Now that everyone is just picking the deck up thinking like, oh, it's a combo deck, I just counter spells and then I win the game. It has proven that what I've always been saying, what has been part of my guide since day one, that this deck has a high ceiling and low floor. And what does that mean? I guess we'll pay attention here. I don't want to be on Steam right now, sorry. I don't know why you have to pop up just to tell me you're exiting, but okay. I got 3 lands and a Bloom. I have a Scream and a Thunder Trap. I'm going to keep, even though I don't have a win con, because this hand interacts very well with a Gigantha deck, and essentially has everything I want, in that it has a Scream, it has a turn 2 blocker that can then be pitched to Flare. I have a Bloom, so I can set up for the turn 4 win, which I hopefully can grab with the Thunderclap Trainer. We'll see how it goes. But the high ceiling, low floor me is that we drew our 4th land, which is great. We don't have to bowl on turn 1, which is also great. Low floor means that this deck, if played poorly, is not good. Like, Burn is something that has a high floor. Even if someone doesn't really understand what they're doing, the basis of play lands and cast burn spells at your face, even if that's all I understand, even if I don't know what my opponents are doing at all, I can execute a burn deck with relatively low understanding and skill. Just to be clear, I'm not saying that burn decks, people that play burn decks are unskilled. In fact, burn is one of my favorite strategies, and I'm sad that it's been unviable lately. And I typically perform well with decks that are low floor decks, but I push the edge of the ceiling, if that makes sense. High ceiling means that the choices you make, the skill you have, your understanding of the modern meta scales quickly with how well the deck does, and has a relatively high exponentially high return on the investment of learning to play the deck well. And so Blue Belcher is one of those decks, because we're making decisions literally every turn, every land drop, right? Like, the land I play this turn could decide whether I win the game. Do I bolt myself to play Thunder Trap and hold up Flare, or do I just play Unable to Scream? If I'm playing Unable to Scream, do I play it on a Johnny, or do I play it on the Cat token, right? these are decisions that will win or lose you the game. Because I don't have a win con, and I'm not at this point on turn 3. I'm not gonna whir for bloom because I have a bloom coming off turn 4 anyways. I'm gonna go ahead and dig for my win con, leaving up Thunder Trap and a counterspell. Because on its own, he's not. Our opponent is not presenting much of a clock right now. Well, we were gonna not draw anything anytime soon. I'll take another flare, I think. No. Problem is, Shoal is not very good right now in my hand. I have a 1-drop, but I don't have any 2-drops. A second flare also doesn't really do a whole lot. I guess on average, Shoal's gonna do more than flare, depending on what we draw. Anyways, so the high ceiling is that return on it. So players that are skilled at Magic already, that know the modern meta very well, and come to this deck and learn it and play it well will perform higher. But players who are just like, oh, I got smashed by Belcher because they just countered my spells and then they combo win. I can do that. Like, it's easy. And then they bring it into a challenge without any experience, without reading any guides, without any sideboarding, right? They're going to lose a higher percentage of games because it has that low floor. There's a lot of mistakes you can make playing this deck. And to be fair, I'm not claiming that I know everything about this deck or I play it optimally all the time. I've made that clear in multiple videos. I'm going to go ahead and scream the Ajani. Man, I hate this. I don't like the way MTGO is acting lately. I'll play out the Sink into Stupor. I have a second one. I also might play the Hydroelectric Specimen as a blocker, because he can kill this cat token, which now we don't really worry about killing because we've gotten this. They're in black, which makes me think that this deck is likely playing Orcish Bowmasters and Thoughtseizes, so we might see a Thoughtseize here. If not, next turn we can bolt ourselves to whir for Belcher on their end step, ideally, and then untap and win. But we'll see what they present. I mean, they have 4 lands, 4 cards. Obviously, we flared the Raptor because that represented potentially 2 threats. Did they just shock in and then... Or is this a ring? Oh. Well, that's fine. And yes, it digs for things, but I'm not really all that concerned about ring. I think this sets us up pretty well to just whir on their turn and then belch them on our turn. Even if they chain another ring, we can just belch them on their up. Okay, I don't know why you want to draw on our upkeep, but I guess they just wanted to draw to get it out of the way. But okay, we got our bloom. We could just top deck. Hey, there you go. That's the one. Yeah. So we cast our good old friend Goblin Charbelcher. We pass the turn. And now we go ahead and belch them. I don't think there's a card they can draw that they could not die to this right now. I'm trying to think. They could play Deflecting Palm, I guess, but Bowmasters, that doesn't do it. You have what? 3 bolts. 2 bolts and a gut shot, and you're still 1 short. Okay. I think against a potential Thoughtseize deck, I like doing the Karn plan here. It basically gives me more Belchers for free. They seem to be a little bit slower. I don't know that they're playing Ocelot and Guide. They likely are, but that means they're probably not also playing Ragavan. They can't fit all of that in there while also playing Bowmasters and Ring. Harbinger is more effective against them, being on 3 colors, but I also don't know that I can afford to bring in everything here, so... Portable Hole usually comes in as a whir target versus staying out. Commandeers are decent against Ring, but... yeah. Anyways, we gotta make some cuts somewhere. I do think against Thoughtseize we trim on a Bloom, we trim on a Tamishi. I think I want to do Screams, Harbingers, and trim on my Flares and Commandeers. Although, yes, we sell Ring. It's like most of the time, I don't really want a Commandeer in this matchup. Force is probably better on average, especially because it can force a Thoughtseize. Do I want them over Flares? I think I do. I think enough of the time in this matchup, I'd rather my creatures stay alive. I think we'll go like that. I've also heard some people who have played some Karn. This is relatively new as far in the testing. Nope, didn't want to do that. That you should leave a bloom in the sideboard because sometimes you Karn for it, which seems crazy to me, but you know, I'll trust other people. I was just talking to someone today that like I actually record all my games now, so you're seeing all the Magic I get to play. If you follow the channel, if you're subscribed, a lot of the people who are in the Discord, right, are playing 2 to 4 leagues a day, whereas I'm playing like 2 leagues a week. So that's one of the things where it's like, you know, play to your strengths. I'm a good Magic player, but I don't have the time to just grind stuff out. So I trust people who have more time than me when it comes to testing things. 3 tapped lands is a little rough. That being said, I have lots of ones. I have 1 and 2s to discard to Shoal. I have the Flogi and a Whir. I think we'll keep it. They present a slower clock than Boros on average. We'll see. You know, we didn't necessarily see the opponent's full deck, but from what we saw, it was slower. And we might cast a Bane Veil, you know, and it all, you know, it depends on our draw here too. And they might not even be playing Thoughtseize, but I think they do on average, and I don't want to, this deck doesn't mulligan impressively well. It really wants card density when you're playing cards like Shoal and Force of Negation, right? You want to have extra cards in hand. If this is a Thoughtseize here, we'll pitch our screen. I think that's worth it. He's got to take our best card, and so this way we get to choose what card we lose, as well as the Shoal. And so like he could have taken the Flogi, the Whir, he could have just taken a land, and then we might have gotten stuck on land. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't really ever need 2 teachings, so we'll lead on teachings with that second draw. And now if they spend another turn casting another Thoughtseize, like at that point, I'm okay because we're making our land drops. I think he takes Whir in that instance, but because we added Karns, right, we took out 1 Belcher, but we added 2 Karns. Yeah, Duress. Well, we can't take our 1 card advantage card, so that's nice. Hopefully we could top deck an untapped Source. I assume we lose Whir here. I don't think you attack our lands when we're holding 3. It's always the weird game against discard decks is that they can choose to attack our mana instead of our spells, which those are my least favorite games. That's interesting. And this, again, part of the reason why we did cut a Bloom is that they are kind of worse on average when our hands get picked apart. But again, our opponent has not put a threat into play when we're still at 20 life going into turn 3, which is great. And I do like the Thoughtseize and Duress is great if they also started off like with a turn 1 Ocelot or something, and we were just having a board that was building more and more pressure. But we'll see what this Raptor hits. Raptor into a Johnny is pretty strong. 3 creatures, 5 damage, 4 turn clock. But obviously it's got to do more than that, and he can flip this to Johnny. He plays Bombardment, so the nice thing is Bane Veil essentially is a time walk here. He has 2 in hand. I'll go with Thunder Trap first. Ooh. I think I do want the Unable to Scream, even though I can't cast it this turn. Yeah. I think we'll kind of trust our top decks and our Flogi here to hopefully find a Belcher or a Karn that we'll be able to cast in another turn. So next turn we can do Flogi plus Unable to Scream. And we'll just play out Bane Veil and get into kind of top deck mode. Play Swing with All, I think we're just blocking a Johnny. No, they offer the trade to flip a Johnny. Because they have a red permanent, I'm not going to let them start spitting out tokens. So we can afford to just take it this turn. We essentially did block 1 damage, right? He didn't have to attack, but we essentially got to block 1 damage by having this in play. So it is saving us life, even if we're not actively using it. Our opponent has 2 cards in hand. We haven't seen a Flage yet. They might just cast a ring here. Oh, Gigantha to hand. That's interesting. No fetch. Okay. Feels much more mid-rangey, this Mardu build. I know they could play Mardu just as aggressive as Boros, but they typically tend to lean mid-rangey. We'll go ahead and enable the Ajani. Then we can trade with the cat token to slow him down a bit. I might go ahead, I guess it depends on what this sees. We might make this a 1/4 just so it could kill this Amped Raptor. It literally can only pick Ray, right? With the Tamishi going to the graveyard, I think we're fine not picking one of those and getting us a 1/4 to block. So next turn we hope to hit a Karn or Belcher, or even Whir. We'll be able to Whir for Belcher. But we're set up pretty well here to not be under pressure until our opponent presents another threat. And obviously they could cast Gigantha soon, but that'll take a minute at least. We're also essentially blanking all their future Thoughtseizes and Duresses. They probably are playing 3 or 4 Thoughtseizes and somewhere between 1 and 3 Duress in the sideboard, something like that. So it's always effective. We're up a minute on clock too, which is nice. We're playing faster than opponent, even though we are playing the slower deck. It's important. More so in like mirror matches and Dimir matchups. It's less true now with the Oculus builds. They tend to kill pretty fast. I'm curious what they're digging for if they're not taking Guide. I guess they don't have other creatures in play, so they just want like a land for Gigantha, or maybe they are digging for a ring at this point because they need to get multiple cards in play to actually start applying pressure. Milling over the Tamishi was a bummer, right? Because we're about to have Bloom. Because we could pick up a Teachings, and Teachings were Bloom plus Tamishi in play. We could have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, 15 mana. We can Whir. We can Teachings, puts us down to 11. Whir for Belcher is 7, and then another 3 to activate. You need 14 mana to win with Teachings. Probably no attacks here. And then next turn they might attack all or just attack Gigantha. If they just hit Gigantha, we're going to chump block. But they should attack all, in which case we will still want to kill the Amped Raptor and the Cat Warrior, I think, and take 5. What's our draw? A Shoal. Well, that's not a Tamishi, a Whir, or a Karn, or a Belcher, which is what? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 good draws. It's about 25% to hit something good. Uno momento. Sorry about that. Being a gamer dad means sometimes I get interrupted because because my son needs a hug and a kiss to go back to bed. Just a note, I should have let Thoughtseize resolve. That technically is the most optimal play, because it essentially just does 2 damage to them. We're going to go ahead and make mana, because we don't want our Bloom to get exiled. So that's in the yard for future Tamishis. Of which we only have 1 more, I think, in the deck. Because I believe we sideboarded out 1. Maybe we want to keep this in because of discard. Makes sense. I cut down on a Bloom. Excuse me. Just the Gigantha. I'm going to go ahead and block it. We do have another Bloom coming off, I think, in 1 more turn. Yeah. Sorry. Get out of here, Graveyard. So we don't... I guess we could draw Belcher this turn, but we assume they have... I mean, Exercise. What a random one. Wow, MTGO, I'd love if you just worked. Another Unable to Scream. Well, that's at least effective against this. We could exercise one of our Enables now. Getting another Surveil land. So there's 1 of each Surveil land. We're both top decking. He has probably, what, 3 or 4-ish more, what are these called? Discard cards. We have some, dead draws, but we have quite a few redraws in that we still have 3 more Phlogy, 2 more Thunder Trap, and we have 9 hits. Interesting. We'll definitely take out the Amped Raptor. Although there's some precedent for taking out the cat when there's not an Ajani on board. I think getting rid of the first striker first is probably worth it. Lotus Bloom. Okay. Cast it. Draw a Belcher. Nope. Maybe draw a delayed Belcher. Wow, there's the other Tamishi. That's unfortunate. I think we'll take the sink. We'll hold it for now. Don't really have a reason to play it right now. Obviously, ideally, we're not going to play it this turn. Interesting. This makes me feel like they have, what, Galvanic Discharge or something? Bowmasters. That still doesn't kill him. Do they have 2 Bowmasters? That'd be impressive. Double Bowmasters. It's a big trade, I guess. I don't want to waste my Lotus Bloom on sinking one of this because he can just recast the Bowmaster. And I might just use it on the army token, honestly. Because although he's getting 2 Bowmasters, he is still losing the cat token. And I do still have a blocker, so. Now he has nothing left. We could just top deck a Belcher. Harbinger. Oh, that's not terrible. Yeah. He does have a basic mountain already. But shuts off a lot, and I can block both Bowmasters, which means the only thing hit me will be the army for 2. And I have the sink. I'm going to hold on to it even though he has, because now he can't Thoughtseize or Duress me. Just thinking about that. I'll let it hit me for a couple turns for sure. We're not in a rush, and eventually we're going to top deck a WinCon. Eventually. Not today, but eventually. We'll continue playing fast here. We should get this. We should win this game too. Hopefully get another round in this video. Though our opponent is taking a lot of time. Unable to Scream on Gigantha feels great. Artifact. Does this make it an artifact? I thought it was an enchantment. Oh, they become a toy artifact creature. That makes sense. Does that mean you could unable to Scream something and then Karn it? And it would become a 2/2, and then because he did that after unable to screen. I could not swing in. I guess I could swing with Thunder Trap. I double block, just lose one orc. I guess that's not worth it. I might just sink the orc army. It just buys us a lot of turns, I feel like, versus holding it for something else. Especially now that you can't like cast another orc. Oh, he has discharge. Well, Sink wouldn't counter discharge anyway. He'd just cast it the next turn, so I don't think that we would have done that exchange differently. There we go. It's about time, as they say. They being me. I'm saying it's about time. They have 0 cards in hand, so this is the win. Good games, opponent. There you saw the strength against energy. And again, everyone who is experienced with the deck in the Discord will tell you this should have about a 60 to 70% win rate against energy decks. Maybe higher, depending on the build. This build with main deck Scream should be closer to that 70%. But new players who pick up the deck sometimes do not experience that. And again, I think that is not just saying, hey, you're bad and I'm good. Again, I'm not amazing at Magic. But if you're struggling, it really comes down to those decisions. This is actually a close one. I'm considering keeping this on the play. I kind of have like 2 of my best interaction pieces, and I have my most flexible interaction piece, and I have 2 things that can dig for lands and win cons. I think I'll keep. This one is more on the. This one probably is a mull on average, especially to an unknown opponent. But we'll see how it goes. And again, I say that even though I'm keeping, I understand I'm taking a risk with this keep, and it might pay off. That doesn't mean it's the right choice. And it might not pay off, and I might be punished for it. And then it's like, well, that's why, because I didn't listen to my own advice. You can. But I think it's just best to know the risk you're taking and not pretend like, oh man, I got so unlucky. It's like, did you get unlucky? Or did you keep a questionable hand and it didn't pay off? You know? Let's just be honest with ourselves. I don't like Darsic Shores. Do nothing as a first turn. It's very ominous. We'll lead on Hydroelectric. This being a counter spell, it's probably going to be relevant against a blue deck. This might just get spell snared? Question mark? Oh, nope. They're just the Froculus deck. That was a pretty good Thought Scour for us. Just hit an Unearth and a land. Ooh. Well, our only choice is this Lotus Bloom. We'll go ahead and pick it. We'll suspend it. We don't want to pass through the turn because I could commandeer something, although there's nothing that I could think of that I want to commandeer at this point. One of the downsides, again, of this the Froculus deck is better than the old Frogtide decks because of the Unearth strategy. They have a lot more 1-drops, and then something like Unearth doesn't even work against, or Commandeer doesn't work against Unearth some of the time. Although right now we do have a target card that we'd be able to switch it to. Sometimes you don't actually have another target in your graveyard. So maybe it's another upside to Philology. Weird upside, but true. Question here is if I want to keep Waterlogged as a potential win con. I guess we'll lead. Because we have Flare, I'm going to lead on Philology. The second creature out there will be nice. Opponent is fetching in response. Oh, we're down on clock by almost a minute. Took too long. Describing my bad keep. Counterspell? Question mark? I could flare this, but I think I'll let them use a counterspell on my Philology. And I'll play this out. I don't think we're not going to get to 14 mana anytime soon. I'd rather just kind of make my land drops. This allows us to hold up Flare and plus Commandeer if we need it to, like, for instance, counter a Oculus. If they fetch, they could do one, right? I think it's 5 or 6 cards, I forget. They might be doing a Murktide right here. There's a lot of paint. Nope. Okay. Thought Scour, push in another land. Opponent has a lot of lands in the graveyard. Looks like they're holding up a counter spell. It's fine. I'm not trying to do anything this turn anyway. I think we'll hold on to Sync for another turn. Yeah. We can play it next turn. If we draw the Belcher, we might go for it with Commandeer backup. I guess we don't really have Commandeer plus Shoal backup yet. Oh no, we could do Flare plus Commandeer. Yep. Yep. Forgot we still have Flare. And what do they see here? They keep it top, put it in the graveyard. They hit the Oculus. Interesting they took so long. That makes me feel like they don't have an Earth in their hand because they were thinking of just taking this and casting it. I don't know why they took so long if they are holding an Earth. If they go for an Earth, I'm gonna cast the Shoal, not pitching a card. Because we can. We don't want to sink the Unearth because they can cast it like 3 times this turn. If they go to Oculus, for some reason have another one in their hand, I'd sink it. Because they have to exile as part of the cost. Murktide? Seems like a Murktide. No, it's the Unearth. You have to be careful when casting Shoal because you can cast it for the wrong amount, which is annoying. So make sure it says X equals 1 if you're countering a 1-drop. I kind of assume they are doing this with a counterspell backup, which I will flare. Why does it keep... Just stay where you are, graveyard. Okay, it won't listen to me. Go over there then. The Hardcast of Force. Yep, we are definitely gonna counter that. So we won the fight there, which is nice. We could now untap and win, potentially. They could have a second Force in hand and a blue card, obviously, but if we top deck the Belcher, that would be fun. Come on, opponent. Don't think you have any response to this. I guess if they had a, what's it called? I'm going to play this out with the opportunity we have to not bolt ourselves. Still holding on to Sync. Although there is some precedent to keeping this in hand so we could cast Commandeer and Sync, but right now if they go for Murktide, Sync is great. If it doesn't resolve, it eats another counterspell and we still have, 7 mana in play, so we can still top deck a Belcher. Frog. I think we'll just go for Scream on Frog. I don't think that's a card we want to fight over. I'm going to keep the Ray in hand to pitch to Commandeer at this point. We don't need another white source in play. And it's a great card to pitch because it otherwise doesn't really do much. I don't think this is a game where we're going to try to cast a Seagate. If this was a Belcher, this play would be great because if they fight over the Unable to Scream, we could play Sync untapped and just Belcher win. But it's not, and our opponent is probably thinking through that. Okay, it resolves. Okay. What do they got here? They got a Sync and a Stupor, the Unable to Scream. Oh, Orcish Bowmasters. Yeah, that's fine. It's not fine, but as far as threats go, this is not as threatening as a Frog or a Murktide or an Oculus. It's a very slow clock, and we're not drawing a lot of cards, so. What do they have now? Thought Scour. Ooh, they play main deck Harbinger? That's fun. I like that. Big fan of Harbinger. Guess it's another unearthed target too. Maybe they play it instead of Murktide. This is Murktide? Unfortunately, I can't sync plus Commandeer. So if they have... No, it's just Oculus. I mean, I think this is where we're going to use this. Better than anywhere else. They obviously have plenty of cards that they could just cast it again, but they have to wait till next turn, so... Waiting a turn is a good payoff. It seems like they were holding up a consign, maybe. Oh, swinging with the O2. Sending the message. Got their 8-turn clock going, but I mean, next turn they get to recast that Oculus, and man, it swings for 7 the first turn, so we really only have a 2-turn clock. Another suppression way, I guess. We're just passing the turn. This is unfortunate. And here you go. See, I kept a hand without a win con or a clear way to get to it. I think I've made the right decisions throughout the game based on the cards we've drawn. I think it was correct not to fight over the Philology. I think I've chosen the right spells to fight over and the right permanents to interact with. Yeah. Here's the Oculus coming back down. Unfortunately. Suppression Ray does nothing because it only taps them on our turn. They don't get stunned unless you have energy as well to spend on it. So they're going to have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 next turn. So we could technically... Oh, we can't even bolt ourselves, although we don't need to. The one nice thing is if we have a Belcher now, we do have Commandeer as protection for it. Come on, Belcher. That's not it. Man, that's unfortunate. If we Seagate Restoration right now, we would draw 4 cards. We get pinged down to 8, and the Orc Army would be a 5/5, and we would be dead. So, Unfortunate. Is there a line where we win here? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean, I guess we have one more turn. But there you're going to have, what, 3 cards in hand and all their mana open. I would have much more liked to go for it when they had 2 cards in hand and only 3 mana. But we get our one more look. Come on, deck. They're unearthing another Oculus. Here goes nothing. They might even just let this resolve and hold up counter magic, but my thought here is if I can unearth my own Thunder Trap, maybe I could find a Belcher with it. More likely to find it with that than to draw it. Let's see what our top cards were. They were... None of these are Thunder Trap. How can we survive this? If I get Whir... I only have 8 mana. I can't bolt myself again. If I get Scream, I can put it on the Oculus, but they get another Manifest, so they'll have 2 Manifest and 2 Orc Armies. I can only block 1 Manifest. I will take 4 damage and die. Shoal does nothing. I guess we take this. Oh, wait, can I do this turn? Yes, I have an end step. Never mind, I did this on their turn. I'm like a genius or something. See if it resolves. I feel like if the... I don't know. We'll see. Any interaction, we're dead. But if we win this, this is a Christmas miracle, let me tell you. It's a Christmas miracle. That was fun. That was a fun line. I did not expect that to work any step of the way. But it's funny that I specifically brought up at the beginning of the game that Commandeer could work on Unearth because we had a target in our graveyard, and that ended up winning us the game. Our opponent won the game for us there. I don't think they needed to cast that Unearth for any real reason. We were top decking, so anyways, that was fun. Going to game 2. Game 2. I think they play. I just want to look real quick. What are they usually playing in the sideboard? These 4 consigned to memory. Great. Surgical and Thoughtseize. Great. And an Undercity Informer. People are putting Undercity Informer. How many people are playing that? I want to see the percentage on Undercity Informer. It doesn't tell me the percentage. Okay, so it's not everyone, but the most recent list is playing Undercity Informer, which is hilarious. I do think we're going to bring in Karn against Thoughtseizes and Surgicals as potential. I think we bring in the 1 portable hole. I think we bring in the Scream. Okay, hello, MTGO. Oh no, we're frozen. Please work. I'm going to close because Goldfish is like a sucker of bandwidth. Scream is just a good, clean answer. I think we want forces as well. I'm working it out here. We'll leave these in the sideboard for Karn. Floodmont is pretty good against Oculus, but a lot of their hate is spells. So I think we're trimming on a Bloom for sure. Do we want to trim on Shoals? We have a decent amount of 1 and 2 drops. Or like Force Negations. No, I like Shoals better than Force on average. I think we just trim Flares because they require us to have a creature in play as well and sack that creature, and we kind of want creatures as chump blockers as well. So we're kind of going, we have, more efficient on having win cons against Surgicals, Thoughtseizes, and Counter Magic. We bring in some Counter Magic that's really good at hitting everything on their turn, especially protecting our Whirs. Obviously keeping the Commandeers, game winner there. Stealing that game 1 was fun, impressive. I'm going to probably screenshot the board state before they cast Unearth and ask people what the line was to win that game because I'm pretty sure that was basically the only one. That was awesome. What are we doing here? We got 3 lands. We got 2 counter spells. We got a Whir. I think this is a solid keep. I don't even know. I guess technically the only thing that would make this hand better is if this was a 1-drop, like was a Scream instead of a Whir. This hand's even like got insulation against getting Thoughtseized and Surgical. Although I might just force a Thoughtseize, getting rid of Philology. I don't know. We don't know which ones they have in their sideboard. If they're playing the Undercity Informer, we might have to switch our sideboarding and bring in the Flares because we need more ways to counter that spell specifically. Maybe we even bring in Flute to name Undercity Informer. But the one only had it as a 1-up, which is interesting because they don't have any way to fetch it. Like they're not. It make more sense in the Yawgmoth decks that can Court of Calling for it. They kept their card top, so it means it's not an Oculus they want in the graveyard, and it's a card they want. That was a fun first draw. Well done, deck. I'll go ahead and play the Banyan Veil. I want to have Shoal on too, but I have the Philology, and at this point I'm really willing to pitch the Philology because we already hit a Bloom and have a Whir. So we'll play the tap land out now. But just noting that if I hadn't already got the Bloom, I'd probably want the Philology next turn, which means I don't want that to be what I pitch to Shoal, so I'd actually play out the Specimen. Just a minor thing there, but again, you make a lot of decisions with this deck. And last game, like I said, I didn't keep that good of a hand, and we were kind of punished for it, but you saw, like I said, the playing the way I did and keeping cards in my hand for Commandeer specifically won us the game. And not playing out lands won us the game, because even if we would have had enough lands to cast Commandeer, we couldn't cast Commandeer and then Whir. on that turn unless we specifically cast Commandeer for free and had 7 mana after that. Just a note. We're playing this. Not in a rush to get Falaji out. I'd rather win with Whir than draw the Belcher, because we can protect Whir with Force and Shoal. And so we're setting up for a turn for Whir on their turn. Haven't seen any Thoughtseize. Our opponent hasn't even cast a spell yet. So there we go. First spell of the game is a I suspended a spell, but that doesn't really count. It's funny that our opponent's name's Lightning Bolt and we're playing the blue mirror. They put Spell Snare in the graveyard. Interesting. Spell Snare. What does that hit? It hits all my creatures, I guess? Maybe they think we're playing Counterspell. Doesn't hit a lot in our deck, honestly. They shocked. Are they going for Frog here? Yeah, Frog's pretty good. We're going to Shoal the Frog. That resolves, which I expected. Again, Frog is one of those threats that we can't let hit, and that's part of what makes this deck so good, is we can't let Frog hit, we also can't let Oculus hit. Oculus kills us fast from life total, Frog kills us fast because of card advantage, and makes it more and more impossible to deal with the Frog or resolve any of our spells. A Sink. Is there any reason to keep Hydroelectric Specimen in hand? There could be. There could be a reason. So I will play out a Sink here. I think I'm going to go ahead and... There's some precedent to bolting ourselves, because then I could cast this other Sink or this Force. I think if I'm going to bolt myself, I actually want to keep both Sinks in my hand. I like this play because it gives us play if they go and just try to Oculus. I guess they'd have to play like land, Thoughtscour, Oculus. They could go for a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They could go for a Murktide. Seems like they probably trimmed on Murktides against us. Unearth on Frog. Unearth on Frog. How much do I care about this? Next turn, I'm going to Whir for the win. I guess if I get them to burn a counterspell here, that's great. And because I have another land... Oh, wait, I don't cancel. I don't want to Sink the Unearth because he could just recast it. So I want Unearth to resolve, and then I want to bounce the Frog. That's another reason why Sinking the Stupor is just so great, is it's very flexible. Turning on the instep means he can't just recast it. He could fight over this, but if he does, that's great. I'd rather him waste a counterspell on this. Mystical Dispute? Sure. We're not going to force that. We're saving our force to protect our Whir, which will be on this turn. Well, on their next turn. They only have 3 cards in hand, though. If I top deck a Belcher, we might go for it. They're consigning the Bloom trigger. I don't know how that works on this trigger. I think they want to consign the other trigger. But we're going to, let that resolve. So we don't get Bloom this turn, but I think we're just going to get it next turn. Do I play... I think I play Sink here. I think I want that 4th land pretty much no matter what. Although I like keeping cards in hand for Commandeer and Force, etc., etc. I think we're going to end up... Because he used it... he used that Consign pretty aggressively. Obviously, he has the potential to just draw more Consign with Psychic Frog, but... That's a risk we're going to have to take. We'd rather set up for a turn where we can, triple spell. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Lotus Bloom will just come off of Suspend this turn. But if you wait and consign the second trigger, the one that is when the last is removed, you may cast it, then it just is stuck in exile indefinitely. And I think that's what my opponent thought they were doing. This trigger is the one that you want to consign. So they might be new to the deck or to consign or Lotus Bloom in general, But that means we get to try to cast it again. They can also just consign this, the actual Lotus Bloom, but that is far less effective because then we can Tamishi it back. I gotta go for Counterspell now. I wish I knew what my draw would be before making this choice. I think I might force it. No, I think I'm fine with Bloom going to the graveyard, though. Because if I force it now, I can't protect my Whir with Commandeer or Force. I really want to protect this Whir, so I think we let this happen. Ooh. Intrigue. Well, I think this is worth the risk. We can Commandeer. I guess we can't Commandeer exactly a single consign. But if we burn another consign here, were their thoughts scouring themselves? Oh, they might draw a Force. But we can Commandeer that. It's weird that you can Commandeer a counterspell and make it target the Commandeer, but you can't Commandeer consign and make it target the Replicate. Well, there you go. That is the matchup that I think is probably the most rewarding of correct choices. I think we made the right choices, other than a slightly questionable keep in game one. And we had a really fun win on that game 1-1. And now you saw, what did we beat? We beat Counterspell, Mystical Dispute, Consign, Frog. Which is not bad. Not a bad win. We didn't even have to use Commandeer, which is kind of funny. But we had it. But there you go. You see the resiliency. You see how you win against a counterspell deck, which typically, right, a combo deck, that's their weakness. But we're not really a combo deck. We're a control deck with a combo finish. So, again, you guys voted for this. I'll finish out this league with another video. They run longer. I like playing the mono red deck because it's typically faster. But I hope you appreciate it. Give me the subscribe. I'm doing pretty good on subs. It's been a lot of fun. The more of you all that subscribe, the more I like making these videos. So, thank you. I hope you have a fantastic day, week, night, morning, whatever it is.